There's a kind of love that many of us have lived through, but never dared to name. It's the love that suffocates while calling itself safe. The love that whispers sweet nothings while holding you tighter than your breath can bear. The love that says, I care about you, but means, don't grow without me. Have you ever felt that sense that the more someone loved you, the smaller you became? That the more you gave, the more invisible you felt? And somehow, their love always seemed just a little too close, just a little too loud, as if they needed to wrap themselves around you to know you wouldn't disappear. Maybe it started with affection, a hand that held yours a little too tightly, a message that asked where you were not once, but 5, 6, 7 times. And at first you thought, maybe this is just what love looks like. Maybe this is what being wanted feels like. But somewhere, in the quiet of your mind, you began to wonder if love was supposed to make you feel caged, like you couldn't breathe fully unless they said it was okay, like joy had to be filtered through someone else's comfort. Love that clings is often mistaken for devotion. They say, I just love you so much I can't help it. But love that's afraid to lose you is not love, it's fear. It's not presence, it's panic. It's not care, it's control dressed up in sentiment. Carl Jung once wrote that where love reigns, power disappears. Because real love, real soul-rooted, quiet in the heart kind of love, doesn't need to hold you down to feel secure. It doesn't check your phone. It doesn't keep score. It doesn't ask you to shrink to fit its idea of comfort. Real love opens its hands. It watches you take flight and smiles, not because you're flying away, but because you finally remembered you have wings. Think about that. Have you ever been loved in a way that made you more yourself, more alive, more expansive, even in silence? Or have you mostly known the kind of love that gave only if it received, that demanded access to your every thought, your every move, as if your freedom was a threat? Love should never feel like surveillance. And yet so many have been taught that jealousy is proof of love, that if they aren't worried about losing you, they must not really care. But that is a love built on absence, on anxiety, on the hollow echo of "don't leave me," rather than the sacred whisper of "I trust you." Jung understood this. What most people call love is often just projection. We don't fall in love with the person we fall in love with, the way they make us feel, needed, wanted, safe, from the emptiness inside. And when that illusion begins to fade, we cling harder, not because love is growing, but because fear is. True love doesn't require proof. It doesn't ask for possession. It is content simply to witness. Imagine standing beside someone, and neither of you is trying to fill a hole. You're not afraid of their solitude. They're not afraid of yours. You meet not to complete, but to expand. That's the kind of love that doesn't ask, "Where are you going?" but instead says, "Wherever you go, may you remember who you are." This is not a love born of desperation. It is a love born of abundance. And it's rare, but it's real. And maybe it's the kind of love you've been waiting for, not in someone else, but in the moment you stop needing someone to hold you and start choosing someone and lets you breathe. We've all been taught to look for someone good, someone kind, gentle, patient, someone who doesn't raise their voice or mess up too much, someone who feels easy to love. But what if real love begins not when everything is perfect, but when the masks begin to fall? There comes a moment in every relationship when the light flickers, when the glow of newness fades, and the person before you starts to reveal the parts they once tried to hide, the shadows, not because they want to hurt you, but because they finally feel safe enough to let you see. The insecurities, the fears, the anger they've never fully understood, the sadness they thought they had buried. And this is where the illusion ends. This is where fantasy dies, and real love either begins or breaks. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the hidden side of the psyche. Not evil, not wrong, just repressed, forgotten, ignored for so long it started to grow in silence. You have one too, even if you don't want to admit it. The part of you that lashes out when you feel small, that shrinks back when you feel too much, that pretends to be kind when what you really feel is rage. And when two shadows meet, it's messy, it's vulnerable, it's terrifying. Because love without shadow is easy, but it's not real. It's easy to love someone's laughter, to admire their ambition, to praise their strength. But can you still love them when their sadness won't let them smile, when their strength turns to stubborn silence, when their ambition collapses into self-doubt? Can you sit with someone in the darkness without needing to pull them out of it? That is what it means to love with open eyes, not to fix, not to save, but to stay. To say, I see this part of you, and I do not run. Real love is not about pretending your partner is flawless. It's about being present when they are not. It's about understanding that their wounds are not weapons. They are remnants of battles they fought before you even arrived. And yes, they might bleed sometimes. They might speak from the voice of their pain. But when you love someone's shadow, you stop taking their storms personally. You learn to ask, what is this really about? What are you afraid of? What old hurt is speaking through you right now? And you offer your presence not as a cure, but as a sanctuary. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead to an understanding of ourselves. So what if their anger is showing you your own fear? What if their silence is calling forth your need to be heard? What if their chaos reflects the parts of you still aching for order? Love is not about perfection. It's about reflection. To love another truly is to walk beside them, shadow and all, and whisper, you are still worthy. Not in spite of your mess, but through it. And sometimes that whisper becomes a mirror. One that shows you your own hidden places. You thought you were the calm one until their storm made you lose control. You thought you were strong until their sadness made you feel helpless. You thought you were healed until their distance made you desperate. This is where love becomes sacred, not in the glow, but in the grit. In the morning, after an argument, when both of you are still sore, but choose to stay. In the moments of silence, when nothing is being said, but your presence still says everything. That is where transformation happens, not in fantasy, but in truth. And if you can learn to sit in your own shadow, to make peace with your own darkness, then you will stop needing your partner to be your light. Because now you can be both. And love can breathe. There's a strange kind of recognition that happens sometimes. You meet someone, and it's as if you've known them forever. Their presence softens something in you. Their voice feels like home. You don't just want to be close, you ache to merge. You call it fate. You call it soul connection. You call it love. But what if what you're really seeing in them is you? Not the version of you you show the world, but the one you've long forgotten. The boldness you buried. The softness you've silenced. The dreams you once dared to dream before life taught you to be realistic. Carl Jung knew this well. He spoke of the animus and anima, the masculine and feminine energies that live within each of us. And when someone crosses your path who embodies the essence of what you've denied in yourself, you don't just feel attracted, you feel awakened. That spark, that obsession that can't stop thinking about them is not always about who they are. It's about what they've stirred inside of you. You see their courage because you've long silenced your own. You feel drawn to their sensitivity because yours has been hidden under armor. You think they complete you. But the truth is, they reflect the you that's been waiting to return. This is why passion in its earliest form can feel like madness. Because you are not in love with a person, you are in love with an image, a projection, a mirror. And as long as you mistake the mirror for the source, you will chase illusions. You will expect them to always make you feel alive. You will panic when they disappoint. You will crumble when they no longer reflect the fantasy. And yet, this disillusionment is not a failure of love. It's the beginning of it. Because when the image fades, when the pedestal breaks, you are finally given a choice. Will you walk away in disappointment, clinging to the story of who you thought they were? Or will you stay and meet the real person in front of you? The one with flaws. The one who doesn't always say the right thing. The one who can't read your mind. The one who may never be your fantasy, but who is real. That's where love begins. Not in projection, but in presence. And here's the secret no one tells you. When the mirror cracks, it also reflects you back to yourself. You begin to notice your own patterns. The way you try to earn affection. The way you shrink when you feel misunderstood. The way you run or cling when you sense disconnection. And now love is not just about holding hands. It's about holding truth together. Real love isn't born in the fantasy. It's born in the moment two people decide to stay, not because of who they thought each other were, but because of who they are still becoming. That's when the magic deepens. When two mirrors stop pretending to be windows and finally become doors opening toward each other with honesty, willing to see and be seen. And you stop needing them to be your missing piece. Because now you understand they were never here to complete you. They were here to reveal you to you. And that is the sacred gift hidden within real love. There's a quiet tragedy that too many hearts have known the experience of slowly fading inside the very love they once prayed for. It doesn't happen all at once. It begins in subtle silences. A dream you no longer speak of. A laugh you begin to soften. A truth you tuck away, afraid it might be too much. You think it's compromise. You think it's maturity. You think it's just what people do to make love last. But what you're really doing is leaving pieces of yourself behind one soft surrender at a time. And soon you find yourself looking in the mirror and not quite recognizing who you've become. The edges that once defined you are now smoothed over, blended into someone else's version of comfort. And you wonder, how did I get so small? Carl Jung wrote of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming fully yourself, not an imitation, not a role, but a living, breathing, evolving self, whole, aware, real. And love, real love, does not interrupt that journey, it joins it. The right person will never ask you to choose between the relationship and your becoming. They will want to witness your evolution, not limit it. You'll know this kind of love when you feel safe to speak your truth, even when it trembles. You'll feel it when your silence is not punished, but respected. When your ideas are not belittled, but explored. When your solitude is not mistaken for distance, but honored as part of your wholeness. Love is not losing yourself in someone. It's finally being able to stop hiding. Can you remember the last time you felt fully yourself with someone? Not just the polished version. Not the polite, pleasing persona, but the real you. The one who still cries about old things. The one who thinks weird thoughts. The one who has quiet longings that have no name. And imagine being loved right there, not for how easy you are to handle, but for how wildly human you are, for your complexity, for your depth, for the parts of you that are still figuring it all out. That kind of love doesn't just feel good, it feels like oxygen. You can breathe, you can expand, you can create, speak, rest, wonder, question, grow. And even when you disagree, even when you stumble, even when you need space, you don't fear losing everything. Because this love doesn't ask you to be smaller just to make it easier to stay. It's not threatened by your ambition. It's not jealous of your joy. It doesn't try to cage your spirit, but walks beside it step for step, breath for breath. The truth is, if love requires you to shrink, it isn't love. It's control in disguise. And if someone truly sees you, they won't ask you to dim your light so they can feel less insecure in your presence. They'll open the window wider and say, "Shine." Jung understood that the soul craves wholeness, not permission. So when love comes, let it be the kind that meets you in your fullness, that celebrates your wildness, that doesn't need you to disappear in order to stay close. Let love be the place where you return to yourself, not where you go to get lost. And if you haven't known that kind of love, yet don't despair. Sometimes the first person you must become more of yourself with is you. Then one day, someone arrives, not to rescue you from loneliness, but to walk beside you because they see in you what you finally see in yourself. And that is where love begins to feel like coming home without ever having to leave who you are. There's a story many of us were told, maybe not in words, but in glances, in movies, in the way adults sighed around empty chairs. It's the story that says something's missing without someone beside you, that you are only half until someone else completes you, that your life is a waiting room, and love is the one who finally calls your name. But that story has made too many people forget who they are before they are chosen. Carl Jung taught that wholeness is not something you find in another. It's something you remember in yourself. True love does not come to fix you. It does not come to save you from solitude. It does not knock on your door saying, "I will make you enough." No, true love knocks differently. It says, "I see that you already are." Can you feel the difference? There is a kind of love that arrives when you're starving, and it feeds you just enough to survive, so you stay. But there is another kind that arrives when you're full, when you've tasted your own silence, stood in your own strength, held your own heartbreak with both hands, and stayed. This love does not rescue because you're not drowning. It does not complete because you're not broken. It does not become your identity because you already know who you are. Too often, we confuse loneliness with incompleteness. But solitude is not a sign that something is wrong with you. Sometimes, it's the sacred space where your soul starts to sing again. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself, not by being perfect, but by integrating the many selves within you, your fear and your faith, your light and your longing, your rage and your reason. And when you walk that road, when you begin to feel whole, even in your own company, something shifts. You stop choosing people out of desperation. You stop trying to make relationships your shelter from your own storms. You stop needing love to fix what was never broken. And from that place, you begin to love differently. You no longer say, "Please hold me so I don't fall apart." You say, "I've already held myself through the darkest nights, but I'd like to walk with you if you're walking too." It is not the love that says, "I can't live without you." It is the love that says, "I choose to live with you, but I will still be me if you ever walk away." This is not coldness. It's clarity. It's not detachment. It's depth. Because the love that lasts is born not from emptiness, but from overflow. You've seen the difference, haven't you? The love that feels like oxygen, and the one that feels like a vacuum. One gives you room to breathe. The other pulls you in so tight you forget what air tastes like. So ask yourself gently, am I looking for someone to fill me? Or am I ready to share the fullness I've found? Because when you're whole, love is no longer a transaction. It becomes a dance, not of halves completing each other, but of souls meeting each one radiant in its own light. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. Learning to be alone is not a punishment. It is a passage, a remembering. You are not missing your other half. You are not waiting to be rescued. You are not a fraction. You are a soul in process, and your wholeness is not on hold until someone else arrives. So take your time. Learn the sound of your own voice. Sit in the silence until it no longer scares you. Love your own presence until it becomes your peace. And then when love comes, you'll know it. Not because it completes you, but because it meets you right where you are. Some people arrive in your life not like fireworks, but like morning light. Soft, certain, unmistakable. They don't knock the door down. They don't beg to be seen. They just feel right. Like something your soul already said yes to long before your mind caught up. And you wonder, how do I know them? Why do I feel like I've met them before? Carl Jung believed in the language of the soul, in archetypes, in the collective unconscious, in the mysterious pull that connects two people beyond explanation. He called it synchronicity, that strange alignment of moments that whisper of this was meant to be. You miss your train and meet them on the next one. You cancel dinner and find them in a quiet bookstore instead. You almost didn't go, but something told you to show up anyway. And there they were. But here's the truth. Jung also knew it's not the meeting that matters most. It's what you do with it. The universe may place a person in front of you, but it will not force you to stay. It will not override your fear. It will not silence your unhealed wounds or take the risk on your behalf. Even soul-deep love must be chosen, not once, but over and over again. And that choice should never feel like pressure. The right connection doesn't pull at you with urgency or fear. It doesn't demand answers before you're ready to speak. It doesn't panic when things slow down. It moves with you at the pace of trust, at the rhythm of truth. Have you ever felt a love like that, where silence wasn't awkward, it was sacred, where pauses weren't threats, they were invitations, where space didn't mean separation, but the freedom to stay whole? This love doesn't chase. It doesn't cling. It doesn't need you to prove yourself every day just to feel safe. Because when something is meant for your soul, it doesn't need to be forced. It flows, not perfectly, not without its struggles, but without the kind of grasping that makes your chest tighten. Instead of pulling you apart, this love pulls you deeper into who you are. It's not about chemistry alone, it's about calling. Not the kind you answer with words, but the kind that resonates quietly in your bones. And yes, it may still feel scary, because anything real is. But fear is not the absence of readiness. Sometimes it's the sign you're right on the edge of something worth becoming. Jung once said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. So this love, this guided connection, is not about keeping things as they are. It's about opening, letting go of your script, letting someone see you stumble, letting life take its shape without needing to control every frame. And when you feel that quiet, knowing that sense that you've met not just a person, but a path, let it unfold. Don't rush. Don't question it to death. Don't grasp so tightly that you miss the beauty of its arrival. Just listen, feel, respond. Not from fear, not from fantasy, but from the center of your being. And if they are meant to walk with you, you won't need to chase them. You'll just find them walking beside you at the same pace your soul has always known. That is when you'll realize this isn't a coincidence. It's a convergence, a quiet invitation to walk each other home. We're taught to believe that when love is right, it should feel easy. That the right person will never raise their voice, never disappoint, never make us doubt. But the truth is gentler and harder than that. Real love does not promise the absence of conflict. It invites you into a new way of holding it. Because if you're really seen, if your soul is actually touched, then eventually it will shake loose what you've hidden. And that's where it gets real. Suddenly, you're not just two smiles across a dinner table. You're two histories, two nervous systems, two hearts still carrying the echoes of old hurts, still trying to learn how to feel safe in love. Conflict will come. It always does. Not because you did something wrong, but because you're both alive. You'll say the wrong thing. They'll forget to listen. You'll misread their silence. They'll react too fast. And in that moment, everything in you will want to run, to protect, to armor up. Because maybe, just maybe, you've been taught that when love hurts, it must mean the end is near. But what if it's the beginning? Carl Jung understood that we meet ourselves through others, especially in the moments when we are most reactive. He said that the traits we most resist in others are often reflections of the parts of ourselves we have not yet accepted. So when someone touches a nerve, when their pain crashes into yours, it's not proof that you're broken. It's a call to awaken. In love, conflict is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Because the couples who last, who grow, who deepen, are not the ones who never argue. They're the ones who stay open in the aftermath. Who learn to ask, not who's right, but what old wound is speaking right now. Who say I'm hurting, but I'm still here. Who don't use silence as punishment, but as space to breathe. It's not easy. It takes more strength to stay soft in a moment of pain than it does to walk away. But when you do, when both of you lean in instead of out, something sacred begins to happen. You stop fighting to be understood and start trying to understand. You stop needing to win and start trying to hear. You stop performing love and begin practicing it. Love deepens in the places we once thought it would die. In the messy kitchen arguments, in the 2 a.m. misunderstandings, in the quiet hours after something was said that can't be unsaid. But still, there you are, still choosing, still reaching, still seeing the other not as a threat, but as a mirror. A mirror not to blame, but to learn from. To say, here's where I still react. Here's where I still protect instead of reveal. Here's where I still need to grow. And maybe they'll do the same. That's what makes it holy. Not that you never fall apart, but that you fall apart in front of each other and then build something better with the pieces. So the next time it feels heavy, when the storm rolls in, when the words come sharp and fast, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, can I be seen here, even now? Can I see them even now? If the answer is yes, not in perfection, but in presence, then your love is real. Not because it's flawless, but because it's courageous. Carl Jung once said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakens. Conflict in love is not a sign you failed. It's a sign you've begun to awaken, not just to each other, but to yourselves. And if both of you are willing to stay, to soften, to listen, to learn, then your love won't just survive the fire. It will be forged by it.